Rogue obviously shouldn't be winning on this map in the first game of his series, but here we are. Let's see if cooler heads will prevail or if both players are going to make this a really wild ride. In the bottom right side, our Korean Zerg player representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming, it is Rogue.
And spawning over in the top left as our blue Protoss, it is PartinG. Going to be a forge, Kevin? No, it's going to be a gateway. You mainly know based on the fact that you use the chrono boost before the pylons done, right? For the probes and stuff?
Yes. I mean, I guess that is one way, but I also just saw that he was building a gateway, Ben.
Oh, okay, Kevin. Sorry, I was looking at the PGM, slightly delayed for me. And also, I was a little distracted. Rogue's got some new glasses. But PartinG is kind of trying to fake that he's going for a cannon rush, which I like that he's using that.
Yep. Sometimes they sell it very convincingly, where they will even start warping in a pylon just to see if any drones are going to be pulled. The movement is indeed very, very suspicious, but I don't think that... yeah, man, my timers keep going off. You know, whenever I have a little break, I always put a timer. I used to just put a stopwatch, but these days I use a timer, but now I keep forgetting to turn it off. But yeah, I would have liked to see him maybe try to drop a fake pylon just to kind of scare him. You know, it's a little mental victory when you see somebody pull 4 drones to the low ground and you're not planning on cannon rushing at all.
Yeah, I like the fact that Rogue was respecting it as well, though. You know, just having 1 drone out there to fight away and stuff. Does he actually get to plant the 3rd? Oh, nice block by PartinG. How long will he be able to keep this up, though? Probably not too long, but definitely annoying early game shenanigans from PartinG himself.
Yeah, but I don't think he's super happy because he sent one of his very first probes to the other side of the map, but he did not get the block off, right? And I do think he was really hoping to get the pylon block off. So I think he's a little bit frustrated about that one, but we'll see where the game goes from here. Warp gate starting immediately makes it a little bit less likely that this is a Stargate opening.
Yeah, definitely, given that Stargate is the most expensive when it comes to gas of the tech structures for Protoss. Definitely delaying that, but he's not using it on anything else, so Stargate it is anyhow. I guess the just being safe, but
Yeah, he's very worried about something. Now, what did he see? He never went into the main base. He didn't see when the extractor was taken. We know that nothing too weird is happening in the main base of Rogue. But PartinG, even for a split second there, started a Zealot, then cancelled the Zealot, just in case he needed it, I guess. So a lot of tiny things that are a bit odd in this one so far. But in the end, it seems like we're heading to a relatively normal PvZ. I'm almost feeling out of my element, Ben. Aren't we supposed to see something weird today?
I think we are, but it's not over yet, Kevin. You know, like there's a Stargate, Void Ray on the way. I mean, the Void Ray, it's totally normal these days. It goes around, gets rid of the Overlords, and we've seen it used to great effect in cancelling like 4th bases and stuff, even making 3rd bases a little bit tricky sometimes. But this... PartinG versus Rogue is one of the most normal starts to the game yet that we've had today, which is weird to say.
And you can see that PartinG is definitely a little bit paranoid, as there's still a probe just idling between the Stalker and the Adept in the natural, just in case he needs to panic warp in a couple of buildings, because he does get Baning busted. There is a Roachling all-in. Well, there could still be one, but it would be a very late Roachling all-in, as Rogue drops the Roach Warren. All right, drop alert. I feel like we're going to get a German taxi in this one. I don't know if you have discovered the amazing YouTube channel of Lambo yet, but there's a beautiful video out there of the German taxi, and I have the feeling we're going to get one this game.
Oh, don't worry, Kevin. I've seen the hands placed firmly on the cheeks with a big open mouth, you know, of Lambo being so shocked by something that he's never seen before. Like, I've seen all those thumbnails.
Have you seen the arrows, though? Have you seen the arrows?
Oh, the arrows. They have to, you know, the arrows. Picking the correct arrow is very important for those thumbnails, I'll tell you, Kev.
All right, PartinG's Void Rays on a little adventure on the other side of the map. You kind of hope to see one of the creep tumors just leaping forward, so you can pick that one off. That is not going to be the case. Is PartinG going to follow this up with resonating glaives? Yep, that is indeed what it's going to be. This is something we've seen quite a few times. You can actually drone up quite heavily against this. This is not the same as the standard glaive opening, where you really need to respect it and build a spine early on. It obviously hits a lot later when it's off 3 bases and there is a Stargate down first. So you can go up to 60-ish drones. I wouldn't go too much higher. I'd kind of like to see a couple of roaches being produced right about now.
I like the second Void Ray, by the way. Like using one Void Ray to poke and just having the second Void Ray to deny Overlords
Wait.
and stuff. It's very annoying.
We cancelled
What?
Glaives. It was like halfway done. But PartinG decided to cancel Glaives and now fires up Charge instead. Alright.
Ah. I wonder what he noticed to just kind of like stop with it, or whether he just felt, okay, it's not going to work anymore kind of thing. Might as well go for the longer game here and switch to Zealot Archon.
Well, Rogue has an Evo chamber, and he's probably just going to go 4 bases in road speed as we see +1 missile attacks on the way. So, no taxis being sent out just yet, and probably will never happen this game because it's already way too late for that. Well, it feels like there have been a lot of little mind games, and I don't know if PartinG is paranoid or if Rogue was paranoid, but it actually seems like we're just going to get a relatively standard macro game. As the Hydra then goes down, I don't think Rogue's going to play like Roach Hydra forever. So I can only imagine that he wants to get Lurkers out.
Evan, the amount of gateways that's going on or going up is absurd, by the way. Like, I think he's already got how many gateways done? 7 with
What?
5 more being
12? 12
Yeah,
gate?
Yeah, it's absurd, right?
12. Wow, okay. Zerglings just casually killing the simulator is also not something we see every day. Yeah, 12 gate seems a little excessive. And now he's even investing in an extra shield battery, which I would say is the last thing you would normally invest in if you go up to 12 damn gateways. Okay.
I'm still kind of shocked. Okay, now 4th base goes on the way as well. I guess, like, in PartinG's defense, he did see that it was a late 4th base by Rogue and maybe was kind of anticipating something coming along, but even then, it's, yeah, he's definitely going balls to the wall when it comes to gateway production.
12 gateways, Zealot, Archon, Storm, and there is a Robo. He's going to use that just for a War Prism first. I mean, he actually had the Robo for a long time. Hasn't really done a whole lot with it. 1 Observer, 1 Robo, 2nd Observer being produced now, which makes sense if you feel like you're going up against Lurkers. It does kind of feel that PartinG wants to fight before they are maxed out. Because I have a hard time believing you want to max out on an army of 12 gateways. That can't be that great.
It can't be, but...
This is a good moment to fight, I would normally say, right? If you wipe in a few extra units, I mean, he's not totally ready to fight yet. The High Templars are so exposed. 2 of them fall immediately. The War Prism is in a really ugly spot. I mean, I feel that if PartinG would have spent all of his money, that could have been a decent moment to fight. This wasn't even a fight, it was a donation.
It certainly was. Like you were saying, it looks like a pretty decent moment to fight, but not into a super concave where your opponent's totally ready for you. And he has a lot of High Templar in the back. I think there's maybe 1 Storm available. There's definitely going to be more pretty soon, but Rogue is absolutely taking a great fight here by the looks of it.
It almost feels that this is one of these games where Rogue could accidentally just win the game. Now, battery overcharge is pretty big. There is it's healing that Archon for the entire fight. That Archon got a couple of very big shots off. The cannon was alive for quite some time. So PartinG is doing whatever he can here, as a couple of extra storms will be available. And don't forget, he still has 12 gates. So there will be plenty of reinforcements, and it seems like the game will go on. I mean, this entire fight happened before Hydra speed was done. We did have the Hydra range upgrade. Alright. It's odd. I mean, Rogue is still just on Roach Hydra band. There is no Lurker then. There is no Infestation Pit to head into Hive. It's just Roaches and Hydras, which I don't really hate against somebody who's sitting on 12 gateways. Obviously, Storms do have a lot of potential here.
And Death Auras this is one of the tougher maps to crack your opponent. That's 3 shield batteries on the same spot, so Ravagers were pretty good against that, but that's a lot of storms you have to get through to do that. Rogue's maxed out at this moment in time. Immortals are being made and stuff, but as time goes on, it's just much better for PartinG if he's managing to stay alive.
Yeah, but I think that's still going to be a bit tough, right? I think the next minute will be very, very difficult. Good timing here by Rogue right before some of these cannons finished up. Corrosive Ball does not truly connect, but take a look at the minimap. There's a massive army bouncing on this 4th base that's very exposed. I like going for the pylon too on powering the shield batteries. And Rogue just has a ridiculous amount of Zerg units. And his army is fantastic to just kind of dive in and dive out over and over again. Because other than Storm, PartinG doesn't really have a strong backbone to his army.
No, he's got no true chase potential. Like if the Zealots chase, the Roaches just pick them off. And there's so much firepower. Those are nice storms on that group of units. But PartinG's losing everything. There's even Zerglings inside the base now. I think Rogue's cracking him open.
Yep, I love that move by Rogue, splitting up a couple of links, running into the natural, found an Immortal for himself, and finds a couple of probes too. Did not completely break PartinG yet, and did obviously lose a lot of supply, but like the fact that he got the 4th base makes all of this a bit better. Probably needs to stop getting super carried away now, because you would kind of say that you dealt the damage you were looking for, right?
I think so, but the fact that no drones are being made or anything, and 70 drones isn't exactly a super low number to be at, maybe he's just very comfortable with kind of leaning on his opponent after he's already kind of, you know, hurt him a lot. But the supplies, 170 now to 140. This again is looking healthier than it did a few minutes ago for PartinG.
Yep, and the army is obviously getting better, because before we had almost no Immortals. Now we've got 3 Immortals out on the map, and he's producing number 4. Rogue attacking up a ramp here into Storm. This will never end well, mate. He made an Infestation Pit ban, but he's not doing anything with it. Like, I kind of expected Hive to start a little while ago. Now we see the Lurker then go down, but he may actually have just given PartinG the confidence that PartinG needed to start marching to the other side of the map.
To be fair to Rogue was probably thinking, I'm going to get real damage done here. And he's like, whoa, you're warping in a lot more units than normal Protosses do at this point in time. And that was thanks to 12 gateways, you know. But yeah, Rogue is now maxed out. So this is as good as his army gets, really. Whereas PartinG, slightly supply block, but moving on creep. This is where it gets dicey.
A lot of storms are available, though. We want to keep that War Prism alive at all costs. There is serious potential in this army of PartinG, with the Immortals in the back, a lot of Archons, and plenty of High Templars to work with. I can actually see this fight going pretty well for our Protoss. It's swapping in more and more units. Decent storm, I'd say, right? Softens up a lot of the roaches. Hive halfway done, Lurker then close to finishing up. But Rogue is going to have to free up some supplies, going to have to take a fight before those Lurkers come into play. But I don't see how you get a good fight here if you're Rogue.
I don't think he does. He's got like 2 chokes to run through, and PartinG, he's going to go for it. He's going to march through the corrosive biles, not really any of them landing truly. And Rogue, even though he's got decent supply, doing a good counterattack here as well, it's all being remaxed on roaches, so his army doesn't really gain any tech.
No, but he is kiting. He's starting to shave off a lot of Zealots. A couple of these Archons are very low on HP. PartinG has to make sure that he doesn't split up his army in a poor way. The Corrosive Balls, they're very close to finding the targets that they were looking for. A lot of PartinG units are about to show up from the left as they're even running into the natural. Those are big storms of those 2 last High Templars. This fight is so widely spread out, and with all these extra roaches and the prism going down, maybe Rogue can get enough units out here to actually clean up this amazing Protoss army that once upon a time looked so intimidating. The Archons are falling, the Immortals are very, very exposed. I would fight that. I would really fight that. There isn't that much left here for PartinG, and you want to clean this up if you're Rogue.
If you can get the hits on the right units, taking down 1 Immortal, that's really good. Focusing the other Archon now. Oh my god, the supplies are so close between these guys. The Void Rays, though, the 2 Void Rays, Kevin, they're still dealing so much damage.
I know, and that one Void Ray has like no HP. I could it actually potentially take out the 4th base. Where are the Spore Crawlers? There are Spore Crawlers running down from the main. There is one that's on a siege up now below these Void Rays. The Void Ray is going to fly around. Burrow, on burrow, burrow, on burrow. The Void's doing whatever they can. Where are the Queens when you need them the most? Well, they are going to be too late. The Voids will get the kill. But at the same time, Rogue is going to take out the 4th base again for the 3rd time of PartinG. Well, this is now turning into everything that we wish for, and perhaps even a bit more.
And for the first time in this game, PartinG's actually taken a supply lead here. Like, don't get me wrong, he lost a lot of High Templars, which is super duper valuable. Finally, Hero Void Ray does go down. But yeah, it's the only advantage now for Rogue is the fact, well, from before, is he had a lot of gas, and yeah, he utilizes it and goes right into Lurkers. I mean, it's not as if the game's going to get easier for PartinG from this point, even though he did take out that 4th, but he needed to take out that 4th.
Yep, PartinG definitely needed a big victory there, because obviously he was a 3-base Protoss for all of that. I almost feel a bit sad that PartinG decided to split up its army, because I think that army, if it would have stuck together, it would have always been powerful enough, but maybe by spreading himself so thin, it is what allowed Rogue to take a good fight. Now, I'm taking a look at the detection side of things for PartinG. He's got 1 observer ban, and that observer, well, it's not doing a whole lot. It's chilling in the bottom left side. The Lurkers, I think we're on hold position there. He's kind of hiding them. Now the Lurkers reveal themselves. There's no detection here. 0.
And they were hold position Lurkers, right? Like, they weren't, or on hold fire at least, so that was very cool. And all of a sudden, nearly all the High Templars are gone, and that little observer, It's the observer that could be, because that was a pretty vulnerable position, and Rogue, he's just doing what he can to pick off units here. It's very nice play by him.
Yeah, that was a couple of high Templars going down again. PartinG now has rebuilt a couple of observers. He's building 2 at a time. He's been chronoboosting them out. I think it's very obvious he is not an F2 Protoss bank, because that observer of mine would have already been above Spore Crawlers 3 times, that's for sure. But at least he's got some detection now. But hey, at least Rogue's army feels a lot more powerful than it did before. He's got Seismic Spines, and Adaptive Talents is more than halfway done too.
Oh, he has to be careful here, though, because this army, it's very widely spread, right? And PartinG, he does get right on there, right on top of the lurkers. Nice storm does land, and even though Rogue had a way bigger army, I feel that he's the one that might be getting a bit, spread too thin here.
I kind of like it, as long as he doesn't take a bad fight near battery overcharge. The Roaches do get trapped by the Zealots on the right side, but there are still a couple of lurkers remaining. One storm does do a little bit of damage. PartinG, is he going to run into this? It seems like the answer is yes. Takes out a lurker immediately. Finds the other 2 lurkers too, but there's really not that much left. A couple of Zealots won't deal that well with all these Roaches. That one Immortal, that's basically it for PartinG at this point. And I'm afraid it's not going to be enough. And not a nail-biter of a game, but it does seem that Rogue will win it in the end. GG. Man, these games, it's just impossible to call who's going to run away with it, because it feels like Rogue's game, then it's PartinG's game, Rogue's game, then it feels that PartinG's done enough, and then Rogue manages to pull it out in the end with the lurkers.
Yeah, I think Rogue, because it all came down to how they handled that fight down at the bottom left, right? And I think Rogue did the perfect thing there, where he kind of split PartinG's army into 2, and then made it a very scattered fight, where he was very spread out and also on creep with like 2 of his armies. And like that meant that none of the storms that would be landing would be on a huge chunk. All the Archons are like spread out with like mass surface area for like the Zerg to really wrap around them. So I think PartinG, on hindsight, and it's so easy to say this as somebody that's watching, but maybe keeping his whole army together would have been the better move.
I think if that army steams from where it basically was at the 3rd base initially, it goes up that ramp and it runs into the natural, I think Rogue is forced to fight it. And I don't know how he even gets close to that army without lurkers at that point. The only thing you can really do is kite a little bit, but eventually there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And you are forced to fight that big ball of Archons and Immortals, but by sending a couple of units down the top ramp of the 4th base and then a lot of units up that tiny ramp, it indeed became a very widely spread fight, and that definitely, I think, allowed the reinforcements of Rogue to really shine. You mentioned it, he remaxed on like 22 Roaches, which isn't great if they just have to fight that army face up. But yeah, if they can all have a little fight spread it across, makes the Archons a lot more vulnerable. Well done, pretty fun game again.
I mean, really fun game. Like these guys are really going at each other, right? Like you can tell that they respect one another. Like PartinG played super scared at the start of that game, right? Like he was feeling that something was going to happen that never really was going to happen. So and he was faking a cannon rush. I feel that they're both kind of utilizing their images against one another. Rogue with his kill button, PartinG with his cheeky shenanigans. But it kind of just evolved into a normal game, which was super duper cool to see. And if you're wondering like why it's good for a Zerg to kind of kite with Roaches, they have a really slow attack. So you can actually run a long distance, then get another hit off. And against the melee units, it's so good against things like Zealots. Anyhow, spawning over in the bottom left-hand side as our red Zerg on Jagannatha, it is Rogue.
Well, we have been talking about cannons for a little while. This could finally be it. As there's a pylon on the high ground. In the top right side, we're taking a look at the main base of the man who's down 0-1. It is PartinG.
And within regards to this forge being on the high ground and stuff, Kev, like disadvantages, advantages for cannon rushing, do you just hope the game doesn't go on for that long and you go for like aggressive gateway and stuff?
Yeah, I think that I don't exactly know how this works out, but I think the main thing here is just obviously let's get some pylons up. This is a really good start because now that second drone is not on the low ground. And I think Rogue already knows that this is going to be a little bit awkward. I think you want to cancel that hatchery, right, and build it elsewhere because I don't really see Rogue ever saving that hatchery in the low ground.
Oh, how do you feel about the... Okay, so... That's going to be a very difficult cannon to stop going up. Like, you can't really stop it from going up at this point. Completely seals it off now with that pylon. I think you're right, though, about the hatchery, because, I mean, that is a hatchery that is doomed to die at this point.
I think the main reason why PartinG built the forge on the high ground is just because he's going to try to win this game on one base. Like, I don't think he has any plans on like just getting ahead and taking expand behind all of this. I wouldn't even be surprised to see Stalkers being produced here, right? Like, you remember when we had that double gate cannon rush for a while with shield batteries and Stalkers? That's pretty good, and that could be it. It can obviously be a robo too. These cannons on the high ground. One of them is taking a lot of damage with the probe. I actually think is what's going to make this one cannon go up, and that's kind of nice.
Is it? Do you think he's going to let it finish? Okay. I was just wondering about it being so low on health and stuff. Like, and just forcing the 3 drones off mining was pretty decent too.
Okay, so what do we do here, PartinG? Like, Cybercore is being built at home. Is he going to build a robo here? He's not building a... I guess he's just going to go for a defensive robo or Stargate. Stargate is obviously totally fine too. It seems like he is okay with just knocking Rogue back to one base. At this point, Rogue's mineral income is obviously very bad, right? He's got 13 drones on minerals. His hatchery will fall. I don't see where Rogue takes this.
Me neither. Like... going into roaches and ravages and stuff to try and clean this up a little bit. But PartinG, he wants to make a robo, right? Like, that's the goal here. Oh, that creep tumor kind of blocked in that zealot, but nice micro with the zealot, just killing the creep tumor. Will he keep it alive? And he does, actually.
I mean, now we have the first Stalker out, second Stalker on the way. This is something I mentioned before. I will never forget that Geothermal's Protoss did this at a Home Story Cup, but I believe that was done off double gate. Because it is hard to produce a whole bunch of Stalkers at one gateway. But if that Stalker count goes up, shield batteries will always be there to heal these Stalkers up. And the Queen count for Rogue is pretty much non-existent. Actually, it is non-existent. The only Queen that was there was in the natural. So these shots, every shot that these Stalkers get off is a big shot. And these Ravagers won't get their HP back anytime soon. I think PartinG is just running away with this, man. 2 Ravagers have gone down already. It's a disaster for Rogue.
It's a super disaster. The Roaches are trying to pick off that pylon on the low ground, or rather the cannon on the low ground. Oh, keeps it alive with the last bit of energy there with the shield battery as well. It's just going from bad to worse. The resources lost have held the tail of this game as well. This is so bad for Rogue. He's dead. GG.
The Stalker rush with the shield batteries and the cannons will tie up this series. It seems that Rogue's plan was to just take care of a couple of cannons, but I don't think Rogue was ever thinking of taking care of more than a couple of cannons that were going to contain him or make this an awkward game. And that means we have another deciders match ahead of us. Benjamin, we are truly blessed today.
Kevin, every time I cast with you, I feel we're truly blessed. Like, I remember the last time was the North America Day, I feel, which was truly an awesome day as well. Guys, we're going to go to a short break and we'll find out who wins in this series. Do stay tuned. This was me, Kevin. We usually alternate, good sir. I didn't think I needed to remind you, you know, your elephant brain over there. Anyhow, guys, this is going to be the third map of the series between Rogue and PartinG. We've just been talking about it in the downtime with in regards to cannon rushing and stuff, and talking about why did Rogue do that in the way that he did, because very often it can look like he has no idea what's going on kind of thing, but there are so many different kinds of cannon rushers out there, like blocking the top of the ramp with the pylons initially. You can go for the cannons immediately on the low ground with the wall-offs and stuff. And then the follow-ups, there's a whole plethora of follow-ups available and such. Anyhow, speaking of the cannon rusher, this is the cannon rusher himself spawning over in the top left as our blue Protoss. It is PartinG.
We asked and he delivered, finally. In the bottom right side, we're taking a look at the main base of the man who tried to deal with it with a couple of Ravagers. They're great against cannons, not so good against Stalkers and batteries. This is Rogue. And Ben, I would definitely fake the cannon rush here. It would get so much respect. Probe is on time as well to block the hatchery from going up this time in the natural, so that's already a very solid start for PartinG.
So while I was away in the break momentarily, I was thinking to myself, like, I haven't seen a lot of the Zergs from Korea do the 12 pool stuff. Because that is something that a lot of the Protosses kind of fear from the European Zergs these days. Like, they almost turn it into an art within regards to being able to macro follow it up if they don't deal the necessary damage and what have you. But I never really see it these days out of the Korean Zergs.
Nope, they are not believers of the 12 pool. I gotta say, this is a very early extractor, by the way, by Rogue. Now, if this was a regular hatchery, I'd be like, I'm pretty confident at this point that Rogue's going to go for an early game all-in. Since he was forced to take his natural a bit further away, it does actually make sense to take the extractor a bit quicker, otherwise it's harder to keep your drones alive that are bouncing between bases. But we'll see, we'll keep a close eye on it, we'll see if he keeps mining gas or not. We know that Rogue is no stranger of the early game all-ins, especially after a cannon rush perhaps. He could very well be a bit tilted. He's like, I didn't want to be this guy, but you made me this guy, okay? I want to play a normal series. Yeah. It's just stylistic, I guess, man. In the European scene, the Zergs are convinced that 12 pools is solid. I think they became very good in forcing out a response that hurts the Protoss enough, but then keeping the Zerglings alive is the biggest change that we have these days with the 12 pools compared to the 12 pools we had years ago. Because I will always remember Nerdshell used the 12 pool all the time. Do you remember that? And then at one point he just kind of stopped, and he's like, 12 pools no good. Protoss is always ahead. And then like years later, Zergs are like, yeah, but what if you 12 pool and you don't throw away the Zerglings, so you don't need to reproduce the Zerglings, and then all of a sudden it becomes a bit better as a macro-oriented build.
It's amazing the little simple things that players find out and how to utilize things. I'll always kind of compare the 12 pool with the Proxy Turax Reapers in TVT, when Terrans like Maru just learned a way to macro out of it and almost be ahead if they could get X amount of damage done, which was always really cool, because damage isn't always measured in, oh, how much did I kill? It's also measured in, like, what kind of response did I force out on my opponent?
Mm-hmm. Yep, you can often throw your opponent's build order completely off by going for certain aggression, and you could force out extra static defenses and all this kind of stuff that they normally don't really want to spend their resources on. It seems like Rogue is not doing anything too cheeky, man. I kept a close eye on his main base. The Observer showed us too once or twice. He did not send any drones back into that gas. He has not produced a whole bunch of Zerglings. It's nothing but drones at this point. PartinG is once again showing us that he knows who he's playing against. I like that probe that's just kind of idling in the natural, just in case there is a Baneling boss, just in case roaches show up out of nowhere. He can build buildings immediately. He doesn't really have anything to worry about now as the Void Ray is out, and we know that there are still no units being produced by Rogue.
I mean, do you remember that specific game on Oxide between these two? It was the Baneling bust attempt, and it was perfect timing by PartinG. I think a shade or a probe moved out, and then an immediate wall off being done because he saw the Banelings just like a second earlier than he would have done normally, and he actually managed to win the game, which was super awesome by him. But yeah, both these players paying a lot of respect to the fact that their opponents are a little bit cheeky when it comes to the aggression.
This is kind of cool though. PartinG is showing us double Stargate for the first time today in this matchup, and Rogue is going for a +1 melee. Now the Baneling nest goes down to the Oracle. I don't know if it's, yep, scouts it, drops the revelation, gets the confirmation. There is a Baneling nest. Now, Rogue is the kind of guy, kind of like how TLO used to do it, to just go for very random Baneling bust in the natural, where you feel like it doesn't make any sense. But if the Protoss doesn't have a shield battery in the natural, the random Baneling attacks can actually be very, very effective against double Stargate openings.
Like, even though there's going to be a lot of Void Rays? Is it just like you overwhelm and deal enough
Because it opens the
damage?
floodgates and then you just run Zerglings, and it takes forever for Void Rays to clean up links if they're in your natural and your main base. Now, I don't know if he's going to do it or not, but it is something I think to be very wary about. And if I was spotting, I would get a safety shield battery in my natural.
It would definitely make that Stalker stay alive for a little bit longer, for sure. But 2 Void Rays at a time now, and it's going to be hard because he's got units patrolling every possible entrance to his base, right? Which maybe Rogue was thinking about it, but this scouting by PartinG or like anti-scout timing by him is very, very clean this game.
Yep. Obviously, Rogue's not forced to do anything aggressive. It's just one of the options that's there if you do have an early Baneling nest. But he's getting +1, and as soon as +1 is done, you can just fire up +2 immediately. And we all know how devastating +2 can be. Just playing Hydra Link Bane is very effective too, I think, against double target openings, because it does kind of delay Storm. It does delay anything else that's very powerful. Look at that wall of the PartinG is working on too, even in his natural. It's like, all right, good luck busting this. Now, that's going to be very nice against Links and Banes. Not that nice, I think, against Hydras. It makes things awkward, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, he was like, Terrans have been walling off here too, huh? Like, I'll do it in PvZ and see how it goes. But I do like it. And okay, so he's obviously transitioning into like Charged Lot Archon and stuff, maybe getting Storm as well by the looks of it. How do you feel about the fact that he's been continually making these Void Rays as well? Like that, usually Void Rays, I'm not thinking they're the best addition to that kind of mix, but he's now up to 6 of them.
They work well together with Storm, that's for sure. Because Storm can... I mean, look at the amount of units that Rogue is producing, by the way, of 67 to 70 drones. I think that's a few more than you normally see. I think Rogue was very worried about this potential Void Ray attack, where if he would have gone up to 80 drones, I don't think he would have the right amount of Hydras out. So that actually turned out to be a pretty brilliant decision. I don't know about the Voids, Ben. Like, sometimes they shine, especially Zergs and Stubborn, and fight me as shield batteries and eat big storms. Sometimes they suck. I'm not totally on board, but we'll see. These High Templars are a bit exposed, but good job by Rogue keeping them alive. Look at these links, by the way. They are feisty Zerglings with +1.
Yeah, and they're on the wrong side of that wall for PartinG, at least the wrong side for him. I mean, double extractor is taken out. Quite a few of the gateways are empowered now, and that Stalker, it's like the last bastion of defense there. Okay, Zealot does come in. All those Zerglings are cleaned up. I think, all things said and done, I'm kind of okay with PartinG's position for sure here.
Yep, these Void Rays just flying around, being very annoying, finding extractors here and there. They've killed 3 extractors. Not something you see very often, but hey, these things do add up, and Rogue will be perhaps having some gas issues in the near future. As producing Hydras and Banes and +2 can become pretty gas intense for the Zerg.
Got all the Hydras in the right position, and he's going to go around with the Lings again. And yeah, they do have +1, but they're against +1 Zealots now. Oh. I like the second group of Hydras here to try and catch them out.
Yep, you have to be very PartinG. You have to pay attention. I think it's time to maybe recall these. PartinG doesn't want to recall anything. He's going to lose 1 Void Ray here, I think, because the Hydras are in range. They just need to find the right Void Ray to attack. They haven't done that yet. And PartinG is a stubborn boy with his Voids. He just wants more. He finds the Queen. What are we going for now? He could maybe get an Evo. Imagine if he gets +2. That'd be so massive. He's got Prismatic Alignment. He's going to go for it. And this Evolution Chamber with +2 will melt. Well done by PartinG. A Banelings, though, on the other side of the map. Connect with all the High Templars. The Storm is not good enough in the end. Oh.
Yeah, that, even though he's getting lots of fancy stuff done with those Void Rays, that trade-off for all those High Templars, I think Rogue's definitely going to be smiling about that one.
Yep, 82 drones at this point. I mean, it obviously sucks for Rogue. He doesn't get that +2. But he's got a very powerful army now. And how many storms do we really have? 2 storms go down immediately. Those are the only storms. Good save with the War Prism on those High Templars. But this base is super dead. You can really see that PartinG's macro was simply not good enough, man. He's got 2,000 minerals in the bank. That is just not something you can afford when you go up against a monster like Rogue.
No, and I mean, having aggressive Banelings morphed in your face at this point, and he's not got any Storms available. He's only got Void Rays, which are doing a decent job of staying alive, it's got to be said, but oh my god, 28 probes down like that.
Yeah, that's gonna be it. That is enough economic damage for Rogue. He's still got another wave of Banelings crashing into the Immortal, into the Archon, and the final Void Rays is simply not going to be enough for PartinG to clean up all these Hydras. And PartinG knows it at this point. GG will be called. It's Rogue who moves on to the deciders match here of